like I was just saying, sometimes a pre-draw will be a minute. Sometimes when I'm not recording, I'll walk around with a cigar unlit for 2 hours, you know, inside, just kind of tasting and chewing and sucking and all these other disgusting things. But this is that type of cigar. I'd be happy just walking around. Wow. Wow. This is hands down one of the most intense pre-draw flavors I've experienced in quite a while. Quite a while. Yet, it's amazing to me, and I can tell this is going to be a whopper. This thing's going to be fucking strong, man. But as intense and deep and powerful as this pre-draw is, I can detect all these different things going on. It's not like a lot of Nicaraguan cigars have that intense pre-draw and they're heavy, but it's just like bang, and it's just like a one-note wonder, you know? What can I say? This tastes incredible so far. Let's see. Let's light her up. This is why cigars never fail to amaze me. Oh, see, I love them uncut look, because what you get. Well, that was harsh. What you get is it's just a lot of burning wrapper, which smells great. It smells like baking bread. It smells like baking cookies, man. This cigar is all over the place. Definitely doesn't have a sweet profile. Bready, spicy, right away, sides of the tongue, a lot of pepper, black pepper, oak, no cedar, no sweet notes yet. The pre-draw on this thing was dynamic, and it was totally unrelated to what I thought I was going to get based on the aroma of the unlit cigar. Very peppery through the nose, and not as harsh as I thought. I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. Some Nicaraguan cigars, there's just too much ammonia to enjoy a retrohale. I don't care what everybody says. You're going to say, oh, I retrohale everything with no problem. Well, then your nose is burnt out, because it fucking hurts to retrohale a Nicaraguan cigar. You know, certain ones are just, they're just not, I just don't think it's meant to be done. Now, somebody reviewed this cigar. Very nice. And they made a statement that this cigar is great as it is, but the retrohale is where all the action is at. So I said, wow, Tatuaje Black retrohale, you know, blowing through the nose, that could hurt. But I had to see, and very nice. Very, very peppery, you know, and I kind of see what this guy was talking about. He says it's what a lot of people would call harsh, but I don't find it as harsh as it is, you know, peppery, as it is a part of the cigar, like it's meant to be. It's not a harshness that shouldn't be there. That's what he was trying to say. And I tend to agree in this case. After all, there's only so gentle a retrohale with a Nicaraguan cigar can get, you know? He also said that if you don't retrohale, this cigar might be a waste of time. I don't know about that statement. I don't see how that could be true. You know, I think, yeah, you're going to miss out on some, what are these notes I'm getting? A lot of black pepper, a lot of floral notes, as usual. Different kinds of floral type notes. A lot of breadiness, all sorts of stuff. But there's plenty going on in the cigar without retrohaling. So I don't quite agree wholeheartedly with that. Either way, to each his own. It's a little sweeter through the nose. And I tell you, retrohaling is a practice. We'll talk about this a tiny bit since we talked about pre-draw and people are asking questions. Retrohale, is a word I never use, and I'm only using it because everyone else is now using it, and I want people to know what the fuck I'm talking about. Retrohale. I don't know who came up with that term. I don't know how old it is, or if it's not old at all, or if it's something new. I just call it through the nose. Through the nose. The cigar, you know, every time I've grown up reading Cigar Aficionado, it's always been the cigar at the nose, or through the nose. They never use the word fucking retrohale, so whatever. But retrohaling is simply blowing cigar smoke through the nose. Now, one of my main methods to testing if a cigar is truly Cuban or not, beside flavor, is blowing it through the nose, because Cuban cigars tend to be extremely gentle through the nose. Even stronger cigars like Bolivar's, D4s, and Cohibas tend to, like that Cohiba, was like butter, okay? Nicaraguan cigar, you blow it through the nose, you're going to be like, whoa, especially if you're not used to it. Now, there are practices and methods to not getting so much burn and to be able to sense more of the different aromas and flavors through the nose. One of those things is to, when you take a puff, let a good amount of the smoke escape your mouth before blowing the rest through your nose. That helps a lot, and you're still able to detect those same notes. Very nice. Very nice, and surprisingly, like I said, surprisingly smooth for a Nicaraguan cigar, Tatuaje Black of all things. Which, by the way, I'm starting to feel already. Burning beautifully. Got a nice, tight, light gray ash. It's combusting very well. No color left in it. Very round. Nice smoke. Very sweet aroma developing now. Pungent. I'm getting a beautiful draw out of this thing. Beautiful. Single pull. Beautiful draw. You know, I'm going to just set it for a second just to let it relax. I've been a huge Tatuaje fan since they came out. You know, their cigars were very different when they were first put on the market. But little did I know they would come this far. They deserve to, because they're a brand that demonstrates such a level of consistency in so many areas, over and over again. They really deserve to be recognized as a top brand. Flavor-wise, I'm in love with their flavor, but of course that's subjective. You cannot deny, however, that the construction, rolling methods, burn, draw, all of that stuff with Tatuaje cigars is impeccable. Impeccable. Some of the smaller sizes can give you trouble once in a while, and I'm talking about smaller sizes like 36 on down. You know, like little Lancero, things like that, Pt2, Noelis, stuff like that. Cazadores, the little stumpy, short, sometimes those are a little pluggy. This cigar has an amazing draw. Detect a little bit of dried fruit there, a little almost apple-y type of thing. Wow. Wowee. So what should we talk about? because we really already discussed most of what's to be said about Tatuaje Black when we did the Petit Lancero episode. I guess we'll briefly go over the basics, but there are a few things we can do. I can read you what Pete Johnson has said on the back of this box regarding Tatuaje Black, and I also have a few viewer emails I'd like to take a look at and share with you because I haven't done that in quite a while. So, why don't we have some fun? Talk a little bit about Tatuaje Black again. So, in a way, Tatuaje Black is like Pete Johnson's Tatuajes Opus X. It's a cigar that came out in 2007, only a couple of years, 4 years after the company was first founded. In 2003. Oh, that's good. Wow. Little spice. It's just great. That's really good. That's really nice. And it's like heavy and powerful, but at the same time there's this mellowness to it. You know? It's hard to describe. Anyway, 2007, Pete Johnson creates this cigar. At first it came in bundles to various shops, and people tried them and fell in love with them. They said basically that it was hands down Tatuaje's best cigar ever, which wasn't saying that much at the time. They were only 4 years old, but they were also saying that it was one of, if not the best, Nicaraguan blend ever, or full-bodied Nicaraguan blend ever. They got all bought up. After he released them in bundles, he made jars of 19, and those pretty much became unavailable within a matter of a week. Everybody bought those up. Then they started selling for egregious prices online. Empty jar, $200-300. Full jar, almost $1,000. In some cases, over. There are some rare instances, but the cigars went for a lot of money. But now we're at 2014. This cigar, Tatuaje Black Corona Gorda, is special for a few reasons. There have been 17 or so Tatuaje Black releases total. But like I said before, many of these shapes were repeated, like the Petit Lancero. First it was made as a specialty cigar just for a shop, specific shop, something Grove, Tobacco Grove, and then it was released for sale to everyone. And the only difference was a pigtail cap versus a standard cap. Whoop-dee, same blend, same shape cigar, only released a year later, not even a matter of months, and so basically the same thing. So a lot of the blends, and then a lot of those 17 different releases were just specialty event releases, 3-packs, etc. One of the releases was a single cigar available in a CRA sampler pack, Cigar Rights of America sampler pack. They throw together these packs every once in a while, and basically your money goes toward a membership, donating towards Cigar Rights. Supposedly they do a lot of things to help, fight against excessive taxing, all sorts of stuff like that. So a lot of those releases, blah blah blah. There are really only a few main releases. And we're interested right now in two. The first one and the last one, because, like I just said, how a lot of these sizes mimic each other. This Corona Gorda is exactly the same as the original release Corona Gorda. It has a nipple cap, it has a closed foot, it is 5 5/8 inches long, and it is a 46 ring gauge. Exactly the same. So, it's the first time that this cigar pretty much duplicated. There was another Corona Gorda release, but it did not have a nipple cap, and it was very limited. So, like I said, we're interested in the first and the last. Now, being that I smoked the first 7 years ago, I really don't have the right to compare one to another. And even if I had an original sitting here right now, it's basically off in reviewing one next to the other because the thing has 7 years of age on it. So there's no way to genuinely, truly tell if the original black was better or worse than this one right here. I know right off the bat a lot of people are going to say the same thing every time there's a black release. It's great, but it's not the original black. Well, I don't know. You know, that was 7 years ago, and it's a biased thing based on its legendary status. Whole thing with these big fancy ceramic jars, as you saw in the other video. You know, just not right. Anyway, this is a good point to, beautiful ash, just kind of fell right off there. Standard Tatuaje. Good point to say a little more than we've already said about the Tatuaje Black by reading Pete Johnson's little story on the back of this box. On a trip in 2007 to a famous island known for historic cigar making, I spent my time in a small town enjoying the simple life. Every day was peaceful and every night was festive, with both having cigars involved throughout. My favorite cigar was not a cigar bought at the local store or factory, but a cigar that was handed to me every morning. One thing I found interesting about that paragraph is he says, to a famous island known for historic cigar making. Where do you think that is? Why didn't he just say Nicaragua? Well, maybe it was Cuba. I don't know. Mornings after taking a shower with a bucket of water warmed with what looked like a curling iron, I would walk to the front of the house and sit on the fence to get some sun and take in the fresh air. I also took in the fact that I was miles from home and no one knew where I was. My phone didn't work and I had no cares in the world other than trying to decide what to smoke. That sounds so much like me at certain times, on the weekends. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, and I can spend hours just mulling around in my head about which cigar should I smoke. I mean, I have a lot of options. My first morning on the island, an older gentleman came along on his bike. This was not a motorcycle, but something like an old Schwinn that he had likely been riding for decades. This gentleman was well dressed, almost dapper, and I probably appeared to him to be a strange character. My usual outfit of jeans, t-shirt, loads of silver jewelry, and an armful of tattoos didn't seem to faze him. He saw I was enjoying myself, so that morning, and every morning after that, he would stop and give me a cigar from his shirt pocket. This cigar was far from being a pretty cigar, but that did not bother me a bit. It was a treasured and unexpected gift that I was thrilled to be given. After smoking this cigar, I realized that this was one of the best cigars I smoked on the island. Later that day, in speaking with my host on this trip, I came to understand that these cigars were something special to every person who carried them. They were cigars that they made for themselves. Even the guys who worked hard in the cigar factories all day would return home at night and make their private cigars. Simple cigars with flavors they personally enjoyed. Over the course of the next few days, my host and I visited his friends and I asked for cigars that they made. Before I left, I had cigars from a few locals who all used different tobaccos from different growing regions. They were all great, but there was one that really stood out for me as special. This sounds so similar to the Fidel Castro Cohiba, incident that supposedly created Cohiba with Eduardo Rivera that we just discussed. Very, very similar in that aspect. I decided when traveling to Nicaragua to work with the Garcia family that I would try to recreate this special cigar for myself. Now here's the interesting thing. In the beginning he says, on a trip in 2007 to a famous island known for historic cigar making, ba 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 ba. Now if he was in Cuba, he was smoking Cuban cigars. If he was in Nicaragua, he would have just said he was in Nicaragua, I think. Then at the end, he decided when traveling to Nicaragua, which kind of separates, saying that from that famous island known for historic cigar making, to recreate that special cigar for myself. That's what, it doesn't matter. Maybe, I'm wondering if the cigar, the Tatuaje Black, is inspired by Cuban cigars he was smoking. I'd like to know what island he was on that he has to say, a famous island known for historic cigar making. Nicaragua is not an island, by the way. I just realized that. So he definitely wasn't in Nicaragua. Famous for historic cigar making. Could have been the DR. But then why not try to replicate the cigar with Dominican tobacco? He was probably in Cuba, smoking tons of great Cuban cigars, and came back and wanted to see how close he could get with the tobacco he could use. That's my theory. So, decided when traveling to Nicaragua to work with the Garcia family that I would try to recreate this special cigar for myself. Together we spent quite some time working on the blend and looking at different leaves for wrapper. The marbled, toothy wrapper was perfect for this cigar. Rustic looking, but with tons of aroma. After smoking the first sample, I was immediately brought back to that island, relaxing on a fence, enjoying life, smoking a great cigar. A great cigar that will always in my mind represent the place, the time, and the experience of the purity of the simple life. This cigar may be considered ugly by some, but inside that surface roughness it contains such rich flavor and aroma. That's damn true. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. This is a tribute to that cigar. Enjoy, Pete Johnson. I like that little story, and I think we discovered something more about the Tatuaje Black than we knew before by the way he worded that little story. Famous island known for historic cigar making. Says it again after the Nicaragua thing, trying to recreate that rustic cigar, blah blah blah. I was immediately brought back to that island, relaxing on a fence, enjoying life, smoking a great cigar. A great cigar that will always in my mind represent the place, the time, and the experience of the purity of the simple life. That is what I try to say when a lot of things can be biased based on nostalgia. The cigar is not just about how great it tastes, you know. That's why it's important when doing reviews, not only to maintain a clean palate, etc., but to always try to do your reviews in the same setting, under the same type of mood. I know my moods. I go up, I go down, and then I have a general mood. And I won't smoke a cigar and review it when I'm pissed off. And I won't smoke a cigar and review it when I'm down in the dumps, or when I'm hungry, or a lot of different things. I try to put myself in the very same situation again and again and again to review these cigars so as not to bias them by anything as much as possible. It's not possible, but as much as possible. What he's talking about is classic. A cigar is not just about the smoke or the flavor. It's about the experience. You can smoke a cigar, say, a year ago, when you're on vacation, I don't know, in Italy, and now let's go to Ireland. We're in Ireland, and you smoke a cigar on the cliffs of Ireland, overlooking the sea, washing up, breaking up on, and it's a beautiful day, and you're just sitting there, and nobody in the world is bothering you, and that cigar is just fucking great. And you can take that cigar home and smoke that very same cigar, and it won't be as good because that experience is part of it. Anyway, Pete Johnson tries to impress that fact on us, that he's not just trying to recreate the cigar, he's trying to recreate that experience he had. That's special. So this is a special cigar for him. It's his own personal blend. It's what he smokes. Good story, and we'll look more into that later, and there will be some footnotes down there, right there, so we can figure out more about where exactly he was, if we can, and what those cigars were he was smoking. So I have a feeling they were probably Cuban. Anyway, what to move on to next? Our first third. Say goodnight, Max.